Objectives include maintaining international peace and security, protecting human rights and delivering humanitarian aid, promoting sustainable development, and upholding international law.
Welcome to Super Adaptables, a more than walking video podcast discussion.
Today's topic is AI, destined to aid or disable.
Our disability community is filled with individuals who have adapted to obtain new abilities since their injuries occurred. Our disability is our greatest strength. It gives us supervision to see the issues facing humanity from a more inclusive perspective and the grit to fight back against all odds.
Our goal for these conversations is to make us think critically and for us to leave with a newfound sense of belonging in a world where we have more things in common than we do different.
I'm Corey Feasley, a C4 complete quadriplegic since 2005.
And I'm Jonathan Sigworth, C7 complete quadriplegic since 2006. Both of us hailing from the great state of Connecticut.
Exactly. So the 1999 sci-fi film The Matrix is about a dystopian future where machines keep humans in a simulated reality and use them for energy. In that year, only 3 to 5% of the world had internet access through dial-up modems, and memorizing phone numbers was the norm. Today, 56% of people globally use the net. However, there are concerns that the design of our hyperconnectivity could take on a life of its own.
From virtual assistants and autonomous vehicles today to robotic caregivers tomorrow, applications for artificial intelligence can be empowering, but they could also negatively impact society at large and the disabled community in particular. As the debate rolls on, you, much like Neo in The Matrix, can either take the blue pill, the story ends, and believe whatever you want to believe, or take the red pill and stay in Wonderland, and I show you how far the rabbit hole goes. What will you choose, Corey?
Me personally, I am definitely a red pill type of guy. I love to find out more information, especially that in which can help benefit our community. John?
Yeah, depends on the day. Some days I feel like a blue pill, but I would say on the most part, definitely a red.
Oh, that's funny. And so with that, we want to welcome the Super Adaptables with us today. As we call on you, say hello, your name, where you're calling in from, your disability, and finally, are you a red pill or a blue pill type of person? Harley.
Hello, I'm Harley Draven. I'm calling from Paris, Texas. I am a C7 incomplete quadriplegic caused by a diving accident on my 19th birthday in 1994. And I am all about the red pill. Let the adventure begin.
Awesome. Mark?
My name is Mark. I live in South Carolina. I'm originally from West Virginia. I'm C7 quad complete since 1985. Yes, red pill. Give me more.
Nancy?
I have a mental disability, plus a bunch of other things like Parkinson's and diabetes and sleep apnea, a bunch of other stuff. But I'm getting through it, and I feel pretty good. And I'm proud of myself that I've gotten this far. And I'm happy to be here. I told my boss, my first boss I had, who's paraplegic, I told Kathy about you guys. I texted her. I thought she might be able to get on, maybe next month. She's brilliant. She writes books. She's around the world explaining to people how to treat and help people with paraplegic, symptoms. So I'm excited to meet you.
Likewise, we're excited to have you. And would you say you're a red pill or a blue pill type of person?
Huh? A lot? Like Democrat or Republican?
No. No, more like the Matrix, the movie.
Matrix, the movie? I don't know.
Yeah. Are you a red
Never
pill?
saw the Matrix.
We have to explain that. The red pill means that you're inquisitive and you want to find the truth. The blue
That's
pill
for sure.
means you'd rather close your eyes and not ask that.
No, I'm red.
Awesome.
I want to write a book. God's will be done, not mine. I'm having a hard time writing because of my handshake. I might be able to dictate, but I need to talk to somebody while I'm dictating to have a dialogue with the story,
We all need people to bounce ideas off of.
Huh?
Definitely. I see Luna has just joined us.
Hey,
Thank
Luna.
you for having me.
Hello. Sorry I'm late.
No problem. No problem. We're just doing introductions.
I'm Luna. I'm calling in from Georgia. My disability is caudal regression syndrome and end-stage renal disease. I'm actually on dialysis now. And I'm definitely a red pill kind of person. I need to understand everything and question everything. So,
That's
yep.
awesome. Seems like this prescription bottle is not gonna be hard to fill because we are all red pills over here. But
Kind of a
thank you.
prerequisite for being here.
Yeah, I kind of think so, right? But yeah, so we're going to lead into question one. So artificial intelligence is a game changer, and literally game changer is almost an understatement. In fact, one of the first forms of artificial intelligence that hit the United States happened in the early 1950s, and it was actually a game of checkers. But the phrase wasn't coined until the late 50s by a gentleman named John McCarthy at the Dartmouth Convention. So it's just amazing how these things have been added into our society through the more conventional methods of doing things, playing chess or playing checkers by hand. But in the disability community, we use various assistive technology to help us get through our day. Many of these pieces of equipment are powered by AI. What types of machinery, software, or tools do you use, and do you find them to be helpful or a hindrance? Are you overly dependent on them?
And as Corey and I were talking about this question, these days it's kind of difficult to figure out what has AI in it, what doesn't, because it just seems like almost everything nowadays does. I was listening to what a podcast where they were talking about the Vegas like consumer conference. I don't exactly what it's called, but it's all like the consumer electronics, the big things, and everything has AI, like pillows, even. So I guess like even for me, I'm not exactly sure all that I use. I mean, I use my computer and some dictation software, but I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. Starting with Mark, what adaptive devices or things do you use, and do you think it has AI or not?
Yeah, that's kind of a hard one. I guess spell check and stuff like that is AI, right? So when I'm typing an email or something or a memo or whatever, and then it pops up and say, "Well, do you want to put it this way or that way?" That's AI, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
That's it, and I don't really like it, even though it's usually right. I'm usually like bullshit. I liked it the way I said it, but oh well. But then after I read it again, I'm like, well, no, I guess it was right. That makes more sense. But
well, in the spell check, like, are we all going to forget how to spell words? I mean, that's a real
that concerns me. Yeah, and I like to think that I'm pretty good at spelling. I never won any real major spelling bees, but I'm pretty good at that. And when people say a word or give me a name or something, and I have to take down a lot of information where I work, and sometimes usually I can spell it for someone, and they're like, "Wow, I grew up learning having to spell. No one spelled for me." So, but I'm really funny. I don't like using any sort of directional software when traveling or being somewhere. I'm a map guy. I learned to read a map when I was a kid, and I like maps, and I like to look at a map before I go someplace and figure out where I'm going before I get there and have it all in my head. And I really hate following people that they're not doing that. They're listening to their phone, and all of a sudden they dart across the lane and turn real quick, and they're going real slow and looking at their phone and all that. But anyhow, that's just the old guy talking. But I don't know. I don't think I use a whole lot of AI other than that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I think that you're on to something personally because I use Dragon naturally speaking software. And when after having used it nearly 19 years or going into my 19th year being injured, I find that there are some words that I'm like, wait a minute, how do you spell that? And I try to not depend on correct at all. What I try to do is I use an on-screen keyboard. So even though the predictability comes up as saying, okay, this is the next word, I always stop and I go spell it out myself because I want to remember it. So, and I use a lot of alphanumeric to spell out things to make the dictation more accurate, as you pointed out, Mark, that sometimes it comes out and it doesn't really say what you're trying to say. And even if it can, say it a little bit more eloquently, it's still like you want to personalize it with your own words, not this kind of generative software. And so, yeah, it remains to be the same thing. And so people are always like, man, how long did that take you to learn? When from like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta to spell out words, but it's like you got to continually train your mind to stick with it. But Luna, how about you?
Mhm. I have smart bulbs. I tell Siri to turn off my lights. I do not want to do an extra 30 transfers because I forgot to turn off the light before going to bed. I also use Siri like an insane amount. I would say that I am in the category of being slightly over dependent because
Mm.
it makes my life easier. And on the topic of autocorrect, I also, as I'm sorry, I forgot
Mark,
the name.
Mark.
Nancy said, there we go,
Uh,
that I have shakes from a whole bunch of stuff. So autocorrect has been a lifesaver because
It's
if I didn't have autocorrect, it would just be gibberish.
what's a
So yeah,
lifesaver?
no,
What's a lifesaver?
yeah, just
What
completely
is
because
what is a
it makes it
lifesaver?
it makes it a lot easier for me to make sure that I say what I mean to say, especially with on-screen keyboards, because when it comes to a physical keyboard, I don't have any issues. I type pretty fast, but when it comes to my phone, I absolutely mess up everything, and my text messages would make absolutely no sense without AI. So, yeah, no, I'm definitely in the plugged in department when it comes to stuff like that.
mm.
What are you
Yeah,
saying? What's a lifesaver you said?
the autocorrect.
Huh?
The
Autocorrect.
autocorrect, like when you're typing on your phone or your computer.
Hmm.
It's
Like dictate?
Well, dictation
um
helps a lot as well, but no, autocorrect is when you misspell something and your phone corrects it for you.
Oh, autocorrect? Is that
Hmm.
what you said? Oh,
Yeah.
neat. Can write that down.
I'm pretty reliant on autocorrect, and I'm very much reliant on Siri to send messages or to turn off my lights and stuff like that. So,
here's the scary thing. Like you mentioned the light bulbs. I mean, I do the same thing. I wish all my light bulbs were smart enabled. But here's the question. Are they all AI? Or is there other, I mean, there's other like more basic technologies, right, that don't have the AI in them, like before the AI revolution last year or whatever. But the scary thing is, going forward, none of us really know, do we? Right? And so the question then becomes, what doesn't it have in it? And so when these things become super intelligent, what part of our universe is not dependent on them? Even our light bulbs might be dependent on the artificial intelligence, which is a creepy thought. But Nancy, how about you? What kind of assistive devices or software or computer gadgets do you rely on a day-to-day basis?
Just maybe spell check, but I don't I've been away from my computer pretty much because it's like I keep thinking, oh, I gotta write the book, and I can't do it, you know. I go on Zoom, but a lot of times I just use my phone and I just backspace. And then, okay, I put the S where it's supposed to be, you know. So I do it on my
You're
own.
all
But I like
analog.
that autocorrect. That makes me happy.
No, it's a slippery slope, Nancy. You want to stay tethered.
Huh?
See, autocorrect leads to AI, which leads to
Isn't
the end.
I mean, okay, I got this one publishing firm or whatever. They don't want you using AI to write the book, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
But then I'm thinking I'm going to call TBN Trilogy and see what they say about it, you know. I mean, they want you to have it your own story and hooked up with God. And AI is quite the opposite, you know. It's scary what AI can do. They're creating these robots that can get rid of the population, you know.
Yeah,
And I think
that's
that
the
goes into the inherent fear that many people have is this unknown, right? You have AI and then you have autonomous things, right? You have AI being the brains that can learn and think as it processes information and your information that just does it automatically because of human input. I read an article that talked about and it tried to quell the fears of many of us in that it's all about the input that we give it. But if it can learn on its own, just
That's
like,
scary.
if the computer knows when to update.
That's
And if
weird.
you click one link and say update automatically, then it's going to do it on its own. And one of the things that Alan Turing, who's a pioneer of AI, he was a British cryptanalyst during World War II, he essentially predicted that one day a computer will outmaneuver someone in chess. And though he didn't see it in his lifetime, 50 years from the time he said that, we had a computer system made by IBM called Deep Blue, and it eventually beat the world's grandmaster in chess in the late 90s. So those are the things that are like that, something being able to make that type of predictability, as Mark alluded to it, GPS always will tell you, hey, look, there's traffic up ahead. Do you want to reroute? But if it just
Right. I use GPS a
if
lot.
it automatically reroutes you without you, wanting to do that, and then it proves itself to be correct, then it can be problematic. But Harley, how about yourself?
I'm going to sound archaic because I don't own a TV. I don't own a microwave. I don't have Siri. I don't have Alexa. The only AI I use is like Google, especially Google Maps and stuff, Adobe Acrobat, Windows, Microsoft Office, and a phone.
Right.
That's it. Other than that, I am as disconnected as I can be and try to be as old school as I can be. And it's not just the AI thing, it's just electricity in general, because EMF, electromagnetic fields, we are made of electricity. Humans are. We give it off. And if we have too much electricity around us, it can disturb our bodies. It can cause us to have headaches. It can cause us to feel nauseous. It can feel like our house is haunted when it's not. There's a lot of things from having too many electrical devices around us. So I do all I can not to. Another thing to keep my brain sharp is, I've noticed cell phones have made me stupid. I don't remember phone numbers like I used to. So, because you just program it and then move on. So for me, I work really hard to play Scrabble. So this way I'm making words. I'm having to use my brain. One little weird thing that I do is I like to say the alphabet backwards. And then I'll say the alphabet backwards every other letter starting with Z. Or I'll say the alphabet backwards every other letter starting with Y. And these are things that I just do to keep my mind as sharp as possible. But yeah, honestly, I really try to stay as disconnected as possible and do things the old school way.
Wow, we have some serious analog holdouts here. This is great. Luna, you raised your hand earlier. You wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to add that I think people don't realize that, for example, when you search for a product on Amazon, it is actually serving you the products based on your preferences and stuff like that. And then you will open your homepage on Amazon and it will tell you, hey, based on your search terms, maybe you like this stuff. And we kind of don't even, like Corey mentioned, don't even realize that it's kind of everywhere. And like everyone mentioned, frankly. But I also think that people don't realize that they're dependent on AI and stuff like that. Now, Amazon was the easiest thing to bring up, basically. So I just wanted to kind of add that as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And reflecting more on it, like for my work, I'm using it more and more. I mean, Corey knows we're using Canva to create AI images for our social media posts, and that's kind of how this whole super adaptables theme started, that some of you were here for, that we are seriously running with. But it's been cool. Like, you don't need to, on one hand, like it can make you stupid, and on the other hand, it can make you be able to do things that you otherwise wouldn't have time or wouldn't be able to do. So it's interesting, right? There are these pros and cons. But yeah, let's go to the next question. Go ahead, Corey.
All right. So having a spinal cord injury or any disability does come with additional challenges for pursuing employment. However, employment for people with disability in the United States went up from 19.1% in 2021 to 21.3% in 2022. In the same year, unemployment rates dropped as well. Post three, what has your current work environment been like? Have you ever brought up to your employer different ways to incorporate AI to assist your unique needs? And if you're not working, how do you imagine AI could help you if you were?
So I guess I kind of already answered this question. The only thing I would add besides like the social media graphics that we've been doing is potentially for grant applications that's potentially useful. But who else among us is working? Or yeah, what are you doing, Mark? And have you ever thought of how AI could help in the workplace?
Well, I've been working for 30 years, so way before AI was a thing. But yeah, Drag and Dictate, I heard somebody mention that earlier, that was something offered to me early on, and I tried it. I just didn't like it. And yeah, I'm capable of typing enough. I'm certainly not a fast typer, but I can get across what I'm trying to do and I can get it done. But I currently work for a Center for Independent Living here, and I answer a lot of phone calls and have to collect a lot of information from folks. And I do like, I guess it's just regular autofill. I really like that when I'm typing stuff and I just got to put one letter in, then it pops in the whole city or the whole state or whatever you want. And that saves me time. I definitely like that aspect of I guess that's some AI. But I really don't use anything else per se. But but several of my coworkers do. Some of them, are blind. Some of them have higher level quadriplegia, and they use different softwares, and they're really happy with it. They like them, and the place where I work, they're very flexible about that, and they'll spend almost anything if you tell them you need a certain type of software or certain piece of equipment or whatever to make your life easier and your job easier and more efficient. They're really cool about that.
That's really cool. As you mentioned, they offered to you the usage of Dragon Naturally Speaking, and you decline because, in part physically, you're still able to type. And for me, I remember being introduced to Dragon in 2005, and I was just frustrated. I'm very much a blue collar worker. That's where my background rests in, having worked as an engineer, machinist in the Navy. And so utilizing the software took some time. I would limit myself only to emails until like I got home and I'm like, okay, you got to figure it out. There's nobody here to guide you. And at that time, the software was pretty brand new. And then eventually I just learned that I'm very proficient in it. And what I do like, because years later, I work with John and he's my employer. And the fact that I'm allowed to use this software to get my job done is not only kudos to John because he understands it having a disability, but also the fact that it rings true when I think about statistics. A quarter of people before COVID worked from home, and now that has gone up substantially. The Great Resignation, a lot of people left their jobs to work at home, and so working at home involves more technology, right? So I imagine it to be very pervasive beyond this point and giving more career opportunities to men and women who have disabilities. But Harley, what's your take on that?
Goodness, I still feel again archaic. I use draft paper and draw the things that I need. I don't work per se. Like I've worked at ILCs in St. George, Utah. I've worked at an ILC out of Fresno, California. Currently, I'm freelance and I do everything but as a volunteer. And I don't use any software to help me draw anything. I just take a graph paper, a ruler, and a pencil. And when I design ramps and stuff, I do it all old school. So, I mean, I see the benefits where these programs can really help. I really do. It's just, I guess I was raised a little too country because I still love I don't know. I just love the feel of a pencil in my hand. I love, drawing. I love creating the image of the ramp that we're going to be doing, the house that we're going to be working on and updating and stuff like that. So I can see the benefits of, I as a quadriplegic, I really could understand the appeal of AI technology and how it can assist and make things easier. I'm so old school. I think the only AI thing I have is, like I said, the Microsoft Office, where it tries to predict text for you, or Adobe Acrobat when you're filling out a form. Like Mark was saying, you type in 1 or 2 letters and it says, "Oh, you might be using this word," and that's about it. And otherwise, it's just the Zoom, the camera. I know that it has AI because it senses things, and cell phones, and that's about it. Otherwise, I do everything by hand and in-person appointments.
So I guess one of these better, or a different type of question, and then John, you could maybe like add to it if you like. Over time, right? We have someone who typically joins our podcast. She had said that she used to do a lot of marathons and races, right? But then our shoulders and arms got fatigued. So as analog as many of us have come from and whatnot, can we be open to the usage of AI should, our arms start to fail us as we get older from, especially for those who have manual wheelchairs?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good point, Corey. I guess I'm really thankful for all you analogs. You are the hope of humanity, because like I feel a little cheap, doing the Canva AI graphics, because I never bothered learning the skills of like an artist, right? And I'm able to just throw these things together in a matter of minutes. And like, if I don't like it, I just type in a few more words and it spits out something else. And most able-bodied people aren't going to have that. I mean, they're not coming from our experience, right? Of living with a disability, having lost an ability, and then regaining it using technology. It's more of, oh, wait, I don't have to learn X, Y, and Z in the first place ever. Great. And so we're gonna be facing the prospect of a real brain drain. One notable example is if you look at what's the movie with the little recycling robot?
Is it Wally? No.
Wally, there you go. Wally goes to the spaceship in the future. Everyone, it's not because they're disabled. They've just become so lazy. They're rolling around in hovering power chairs, and it's just more convenient. I remember before I had a spinal cord injury, I thought it would be great, rolling around in a power chair. And I could use my legs at the time. And a lot of people, even if they're paras or if they can't push themselves, the first thought is, oh, wait, maybe I should get a power chair. Not realizing that if you have the ability to push, you need to use every ounce of movement you can to keep yourself fit. So I don't know. I am nervous, but I'm grateful for everyone who's doing analog. But Nancy and then Luna, how are you?
When you were talking about power chairs and manual chairs, I got angry. It's like, why can't everybody have a power chair? But it sounds to me like not everybody should have a power chair. Otherwise, you lose the strength in your body.
Yes.
Right. But still, what if you got to go uphill or something? How do you deal with that if you got a manual chair?
I trust the batteries in my arms a lot more than the batteries in a chair.
What'd you say, Mark?
I said, I trust the batteries in my arms a lot more than I trust the batteries in a power chair.
Yeah, if you don't plug it in, you're in trouble.
Amen.
And Luna, how about you?
I kind of wanted to say something on the note of power chair versus manual chair. I was disabled my entire life. I don't really have that pre-spinal cord injury experience.
Yeah.
So to me, I have always been extremely against power chairs, and I'm still kind of terrified because my left shoulder is completely gone from pushing all the years and playing basketball with a dislocated shoulder. That was really smart. Now I'm paying for that. So I don't know. To me, it was always and is still something I am fighting. I do not want to be in a power chair. I would rather get a smart drive than a power chair because I still have a lot more control over that. And yeah, I still have to push, but I do get a little bit of that assistance. Um, which kind of on the AI topic, it would honestly be kind of interesting if Smart Drive actually had AI assistance because when you push, instead of having to double tap the bracelet, it would just immediately be like, okay, you're pushing, so I'm going to provide a little bit of support. And that would be actually kind of interesting. But I'm on the topic of the actual question, I'm not working. But I think that AI could help people who are complete quads to type and stuff like that. And for blind people, stuff like that. Just be able to have that assistance for deaf people because I currently have captions on Zoom and that's AI. It's generating text as we speak. And for deaf people, that's extremely important in my opinion. So
Yeah, and I
the
wanted
hearing
to
aids. What is the
wanted to
smart
add
thing
to
you were
that.
talking about? Smart what?
No,
Smart
well,
Drive.
smart drives.
What does that do?
It's basically a fifth wheel that you put on the back of a manual wheelchair, and it is powered so that when you are going up a hill, for example, it will give you assistance. When you're just pushing through a store, you don't have to keep doing the rotations. You just
Yeah.
double tap the bracelet and it just goes.
Well, that's good.
But you still have that control of being in a manual wheelchair instead of, never mind the fact that people don't realize, able-bodied of course, that all of this adaptive equipment is extremely expensive. Like having a power chair isn't in the financial means of absolutely everybody.
Right.
Not everybody has insurance that's going to cover that. You need to fight to get most of the stuff with insurance companies. So yeah, I think that it's very important that people in the able-bodied community actually understand. Well, my shoulder is going out. Well, why don't you just get an electric wheelchair? Because
Right.
it's expensive. It
Yeah,
is so expensive.
insurance doesn't cover those things as easily. But Harley has her hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, like Luna said, it's expensive. That's why I don't get married is because if I were to get married, I'd lose all my medical, all my food stamps, almost all of my cash benefits. And, like she was saying, I'm in a motorized wheelchair and my wheelchair raises completely a whole foot so I can reach my cabinets. It tilts, it reclines, it lays down, it has a phone charger in it, for goodness sakes. And so this chair alone costs about 30,000. And so I understand completely on what it's like to, need certain things. I've been a quadriplegic 29 years and I've been in a power chair for 25 of those years, and my shoulders are starting to have issues. So just from transferring back and forth all the time from vehicles, couches, bed. And so technology does help. And I see so many benefits, even though I don't utilize a lot of it.
And your guys' comments makes me think, all the bureaucracy of, of finding stuff for insurance and getting things covered, getting prescriptions, figuring out, can I get married or not, how to manage benefits. Like the bureaucracy is so complicated. That's what we need AI for. But let's train some AI on all the ridiculous legislation and ask it how to game the system more effectively.
I also wanted to chime in on the whole getting married thing because I have said it a bajillion times that marriage equality is not a thing in America because marriage equality isn't just to allow same-sex couples to get married, but also for disabled people to not lose our benefits because at the end of the day, we are individual people. We cannot work. It's 2024. Nobody can afford to just have one partner working. So we need to have our own income. We're not just a burden to put on somebody and just be like, okay, well, you have a partner, they work, why can't you just be taken care of by them? And it's like, I'm sorry, last time I checked, when people are married, both people are working at this point because nobody can afford a house. So why is it that as soon as I get married, I lose all of my benefits, and now I have to basically not just fend for myself, but also be reliant on my partner for absolutely everything. So I have said it a bajillion times, marriage equality is not a thing in America.
Yeah,
And in fact,
that's
and
true.
in fact, before you close out with that, John, there are a lot of tax incentives when you are married, as opposed to being single, which is kind of like off because it's like, man, I can't be disabled and married, but I can be able-bodied and married. So that she brings up a very good point.
Yeah, no, it's and just so everyone knows, that is something we have to fight for state by state. It's ridiculous that we have to fight to remove those asset limits for Medicare and Medicaid. Medicaid by state, Medicare federally. So yeah, that's a really great point. So the last question.
Around the world, AI is used throughout society, government, business, school, and the home to help make things happen more smoothly and efficiently. This modern marvel is both revered and feared. What reservations or hopes do you have about artificial intelligence? How can people with disabilities be involved in developing a more inclusive infrastructure as it relates to AI? And do you think machines can take control and learn like humans?
So
Yeah, the last part is true. It is learning, take control and learning about like humans. That's what they're doing now.
absolutely.
I mean, currently AI is being developed, learning, quote unquote, by people inserting information into it and telling it how to think. So you can't, at this very moment, AI isn't programmed to learn about learn the way that humans do. And the problem with equality there is most of the AI is being made by able-bodied people and also mostly men. So a lot of that
We're in
inclusivity is
trouble.
missing.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, no, and it's true, right? Because it depends on what it's being trained on. It takes all this data and then, goes through it and finds the patterns. And I've seen this, on again, when I'm using Canva to make social media images, I say person in a wheelchair, and it doesn't, it's the stereotypical wheelchair, right? It's not the wheelchair that most of us who live in wheelchairs permanently use. It's your typical hospital chair. It knows what a power chair looks like. It knows what a racing wheelchair is like. But sometimes it has like 6 wheels. Sometimes it has only 2 wheels. We definitely need to be involved, in the training of this so that people with disabilities are included. Especially as one of the dangers is replacing models, or replacing actors with disabilities, can be a real danger. But the other one hopeful note, this does create the possibility for actors with disabilities, for example, to reverse the trend. So instead of an able-bodied actor, getting injured in a movie plot, and then like they do some CGI and remove his legs, so he's like a double amputee or something. They can use AI to take a double amputee, give him legs, and do vice versa. So make the disabled character a real disabled person, and the able-bodied character the CGI character, or the able-bodied version be the CGI version. So that's an interesting possibility that might be able to help us. But yeah, curious what other people think about the reservations or hopes. Luna, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in again because I'm seeing a lot of parallels between wheelchairs being designed by able-bodied people and actually, for example, cars. A lot of people don't realize that, for example, AFABs, women, are actually more in danger to be in the car because, for example, the airbags were designed around male bodies, and now because women have smaller frames and all of that, it's not actually, women are basically more likely to get injured in a car accident than a man. So that's basically one of the concerns, because you're not considering everything. And able-bodied people designing AI or wheelchairs or whatever it is honestly, to an extent, kind of dangerous for us, because they're not taking into consideration every single thing that can go wrong. Meanwhile, we live it every single day, and we do see those problems. So
I think part of the
yeah.
I think part of the issue, what you're leaning towards, is something that we've spoken on throughout several podcasts, is in the beginning of whatever you build, you have to bring multiple people from all walks of life into that conversation initially from the start. So what happens is like the conversation as we're speaking tonight revolves around artificial intelligence. And the first thing we kind of think about what artificial intelligence is right now, chat GPT and open AI, and we think computers right now. But as I was talking earlier and just in the research preparing for the podcast, this has been a thought process since the 1930s, 1940s. There has been ample amount of time. But when you grow up in an environment that people with disabilities, people with color, if they're already being excluded out of the conversation, whatever advent, anything that comes into society is going to be missing those components to make it inclusive, right? So, like you said, when it comes down to crash test dummies, it should be a woman in the car, and the man built somewhere else in the car. Maybe the child is placed differently on the bus as opposed to where like another person would be placed, because it's trying to replicate other variables. But that's the whole point in it, trying to learn those patterns. But in truth, it's not going to be able to predict it all. Just maybe predict things a little bit faster. But Mark, what do you think? What are your thoughts about it? You got any reservations about it?
Yeah, most of what I've heard about sounds pretty damn spooky. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it. Now, the possibility of having a robotic PCA, that's somewhat appealing. Although then I got to worry that it's going to kill me or something, I guess, but or injure me. But the predictability of that would be positive, and the enhanced possibilities of being on time would really be helpful. um, and maybe it's going to be cheaper in the long run. I don't know, but so those possibilities sound positive. But overall, I don't think that. I think we're going into it a little too quickly, and I don't think they're taking into consideration enough of the dangers of it overall. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're talking to a guy that carries a flip phone, so I don't know.
If it works, it works.
Yeah, amen, brother.
I'm glad to hear that you're open to the idea of a robotic caregiver. Well, not glad. I'm interested, because I would be terrified. But that is an interesting possibility. And you said about the timeliness, that could solve a lot of problems. But yeah, like, this is going out into the real world. It's no longer going to be limited to our screens or 2D apps. This is already kind of reading our resumes and reading our insurance applications and making huge decisions that used to be, human intuition based or human empathy based. So it is kind of scary. What do you think, Nancy? How, what reservations or hopes do you have about artificial intelligence in the years to come?
Scared.
Yeah.
I mean, they can make it so they destroy the planet. I don't know.
There's a society that's in charge of kind of looking at the largest risks to the planet, and AI, I believe, is number one, number 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's 1, 2, and 3.
It's 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, it's scary.
One way or the other.
Huh?
Yeah, one way or the other, it's gonna get us.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, if they, like you guys, what about stem cells? What do you think about that? Would it help you to be able to walk again?
Well, there's a lot to, that is a whole nother topic.
You can bring that up next time?
Well, in short, I mean, with stem cells, I mean, there's a lot that goes on. It's the timeliness, to actually apply it, scar tissue that's, has been built up over years, you know what I mean? It's also a moral question for
Right.
many people. How do you attain it? And so the science isn't 100%. There are people who have gotten the treatment and it has made some improvements, and then there's others who it's worsened. So it's not
Uh,
a 100% thing, but
yeah.
that definitely probably be a topic that we'll cover at another point. I want to make sure we get to um, Harley because I
Back
don't
to
think she
back to
uh,
AI.
weighed on on the question. But one thing we didn't speak about, Harley, maybe as you're answering this question, you can speak to it. We're having this great, wonderful discussion, but also about the ethical portions of AI, the current data
Right.
collection that's
Yeah.
going on in order for it to learn. But Harley, I'll let you answer that question. Question three.
Funny thing you bring up the ethical. Has anyone ever heard of the movie Bicentennial Man, made in 1999 by Robin Williams?
Yes, I
What
have
is the
heard of.
name?
Robin Williams is a cyborg. He is AI. And throughout the movie, he becomes more and more human. And he learns the complexity of humans and the complexity of their thoughts, the complexity of their feelings and emotions. And by the end of the movie, he is 100% human, or I should say 99% human, but he's still AI and cyborg, and therefore denied the ability to be called human, even though he is human in every aspect, thought, thinkable, imaginable. And it's kind of heart-wrenching to see something become someone, but yet still dubbed and deemed thing. So, that's a beautiful movie. I mean, it is an amazingly well done movie. Now, throw the switch. Let's go the other way. Let's look at iRobot starring Will Smith from just a couple of years ago. It actually took over and made humans, prisoners in their own home because they were following the three laws. And in the very beginning of the movie, it gives you those three laws that AI has to follow. And Will Smith's character completely hated robots because they decided in an auto accident, they did the calculations and AI said, this person only has a 10% chance of survival. Therefore, I'm just going to ignore the person, let them die, and go for this person. So you have AI doing calculations of risk assessment for us. Whereas, like Will Smith's character said, if that was me, I would still take that 10% risk to save that person's life. I wouldn't just say, 20% chance of survival. Next. So, and then you have Sonny, who was programmed to be different. And so when they called him a robot, he said, my name is Sonny. He was given hopes. He was given dreams. He was given all these things to be different. So AI can be taken from a diverse positive to an absolute negative. Whereas like the movie Surrogate with Bruce Willis,
Right.
where humans are just laying in chairs and they have the virtual reality goggles on and they're living a virtual reality life that is perfect for them. They go shopping for skins, they go shopping for clothes, they go shopping for all these things while the human is deteriorating.
See, 2 years ago, we were all talking about the metaverse at these Vegas technology conferences. Now they're talking about AI. No one's talking about the metaverse anymore. So good news, we've avoided the Matrix.
But have we really?
Well, it's interesting, I want to touch on two things real quick. Nancy mentioned, stem cells. Well, there's a lot of other scientific explorations, especially regarding, spinal cord injury, but also lots of other diseases and conditions that AI could really help speed up the process for research and testing because it can just process so much data at once. So that's actually a really interesting thing. But then on like the doomsday scenario, I don't think that we're going to end up in either case, where AI destroys us because it's developed an evil personality, or that we're gonna, suffer, we're gonna be
But
the cause of injustice and denying AI humanity. But it's more like we are going to become the robots. We are going to be giving up our human intelligence, and any disaster that befalls us is going to be because we've forgotten how to critical think. We've forgotten how to do our own research when we see a news article and believe it at face value.
I gotta tell you something. I better not have nightmares tonight.
Because see, that's the thing, AI, in like even Resident Evil and stuff, they weren't trying to take over the world. They weren't trying to destroy us. As they say in iRobot and in Resident Evil, they're following the three laws, and they are destroying humans in their thoughts of actually protecting us from our own demise. So in those movies, if you listen to it, it says, I am following the three laws. I am protecting you because you are fighting wars against each other. You are destroying yourselves. So in their view, their opinion, they are thinking they are protecting us, even though they are destroying us.
Right. Legalistic thinking is always going to kill us in the end.
It is. And I love the debates.
I think people don't realize that the AI is trained on someone else's work, and that work isn't being given, but those people aren't being given credit. It's basically just being taken and distributed. The best example of that is DALL-E, which is a program that draws things for you. It was fed Van Gogh's art. Now we all know who Van Gogh is, and he's kind of dead, so that's beside the point. But but we are giving credit there, but not to other artists who are newer. And you'll just say, I don't know, draw me a picture in the style of, I don't know, abstract style. And the AI was trained with other people's abstract work. So when you ask for it to draw something in an abstract manner, it is taking what it knows from other people without giving the credit to those people.
Yeah.
So the ethics of that are pretty complicated. How do you give credit to the people who actually originally created it? And the fact that AI basically stole it and started doing stuff, well, not the AI, the people who trained the AI essentially ended up stealing it, feeding it to the AI model, and now all of a sudden it's drawing images similar to people who aren't named.
Yeah.
I kind of
You
wanted
bring
to
up
add that about the ethics.
no, that was excellent. Excellent point you made. And I think that's where the conversation is going to begin, right? It's more questions, right? It's bringing, different minds from across the board, some of the most of influential thinkers in society, to even children's input into what can possibly occur. It's about predictability, probability. And the one thing that we know that computers can't do is you can't feel, right? Harley spoke about that earlier. Like if there's this percentage that this person is going to survive an accident versus this one, then you choose the one that you think can move forward. And even what you said earlier about insurance and power chairs, and even insurance when it comes down to coverage for life insurance. It's more like, well, if you have these type of ailments, you run more of the risk, you're more of a liability. And I think that's the fear that we're all looking for, and that we're kind of inherently worried about, coming from a community with people with disabilities. We don't want to be part of the lower percentage of, waste in society. We want to be part of the inclusory portion that says, okay, you guys all matter, and this technology isn't supposed to be available for just the rich and those who can pay for it, but it can be a part of everybody's conversation, from employment to medical services, and where it can quell our fears, irregardless of what we think that the machine can or cannot do. And I really appreciate everybody's time tonight. You guys have brought up some excellent points, and I think, maybe we'd have to go into a part 2 at some time about this discussion, because there's really much to debate about it. But thank you for your participation in our More Than Walking video podcast discussion.
And stay tuned and join us next month and sign up for the More Than Walking newsletter at morethanwalking.com to learn about the topic we will cover next.
Until then, remain encouraged, stay hopeful, and above all else, keep
adapting. Have a good night, everyone.
Excellent. Have a good night.
Have a great one.
And stay away from those computers.
Please do. Lower your screen time.
Shut it off.